I would like to couple up with this girl because from the moment I walked into the villa, she has radiated nothing but joy and positivity. And although we're just in the beginning stages of getting to know each other, I wholeheartedly believe that she's an incredible woman. Our time together has been unlike anybody else's here in the villa. We also are here for the same thing, trying to find a connection. I think that she is going to bring the absolute best out of me, and I hope that I can do the same for her. So the girl I want to couple up with is
Justine. Welcome to L Squared, a podcast with fresh Love Island content. Okay, so a lot happened in this episode. It was 2 hours long, and I have to admit, there were a couple of moments when it dragged, and then when it started getting intense, the intensity was broken with commercials. And then I love Love Island, but that 2 hour long episode was a bit much for me. Like, just not enough was happening. It just seemed like, oh my gosh, there are just a bunch of people on an island talking about their feelings, laying around and being bored all the time, which is exactly what it is. But they compile these episodes to make it seem like their lives are exciting and dramatic. So yeah, this episode kind of lagged in some spots, and it made it obvious that what they're doing isn't all that glamorous all the time. But that's okay, because we have some very memorable moments from that episode, one of which being Connor saying at the very beginning on his date with Lauren,
honest opinion, you're a very beautiful girl. I am interested in you. I feel like I have been kind of filtering myself to accommodate someone else.
Oh no. Okay, this show is not the Connor and Mackenzie show, but their storyline progressed a lot during this episode. We know as fans and listeners of this podcast that it's really the Justine show. Mackenzie did get an honorable mention for Best Islander because she's been delivering so much drama to us on a consistent basis. We were able to tamper with her villa experience just a little bit by voting for who Lauren went on the date with, which was evidently Connor. So Kenzie does deserve some credit just for her entertainment value. We shouldn't want to see her go anytime soon. But Justine is the real star. She's who we're truly standing. And we need to start at the very beginning of this episode where Connor is on the date with Lauren. And he's actually having a good time. I think he feels that the date is a sweet escape from Mackenzie. We mentioned in a previous episode that Connor said in his intro that he doesn't have much game or experience with girls and relationships, and that's beginning to pop up even more and more the more screen time he gets. At some point, especially during the date, I was wondering if Connor had ever had a girlfriend before, because it kind of seemed like he shouldn't have been revealing so much information about his relationship with Mackenzie to Lauren. It's just kind of strange that if you don't have anything positive to say about your position in the relationship, then you shouldn't just be confiding in that other person like that, especially someone who is pursuing you. So the fact that Connor felt that it was okay to confide in Lauren like that just lets me know he doesn't really have good discretion as it has to do with relationships and talking about relationships and who he talks about it with. And it also goes to show that what he was telling Lauren, he probably meant that more than what he was telling Mackenzie, because he tells Mackenzie a different story than he's been telling other people. Like, he actually broke up with Mackenzie to the guys, but then when he was talking to her, he had to give himself a script just to make sure, as people on Twitter were saying, he wouldn't propose to her. You know, there are lots of people making a fuss about how emotional Mackenzie is and that she's carrying on and she needs to toughen up. But I honestly think Mackenzie and Connor are kind of a good match for each other in terms of insecurity, because she's kind of justified in feeling upset at least in this situation, at some of the things he's saying to her, because he's not really providing her any true security in the relationship. He's kind of just telling her the stuff that he feels she needs to hear to keep her happy. And the thing is, Connor feels that he has some sort of control over Mackenzie's emotions, that whatever he's going to say is going to dictate how she's going to react. And that insinuates that he has some sort of control over her. But that's not true. It doesn't matter what he says. What his responsibility is to be honest with her, and how she reacts is her responsibility. And that's also her fault. So Mackenzie sort of has that same psychology that, you know, if I do this to him and I say this to him, he's going to react this way. That she has sort of like that controlling mentality. So the two of them are sort of thinking the same way, but their approaches to the situation literally are a bit different. I thought it was pretty good on Trey and Rachel to advise Mackenzie on taking it easy on Connor and just calming down a little bit so he could feel more comfortable talking to her. But at the same time, it's still Connor's responsibility to communicate his true thoughts to Mackenzie. And if he had done that in the first place, instead of being indecisive and wishy-washy about the whole situation, then he could have spared both of them the emotions and the time and turmoil the situation caused. In my opinion, Connor has chosen his situation. He has had multiple opportunities to leave his situation. And yeah, I mean, at this point, the whole story with Connor and Mackenzie is boring. It's coming across as immature. It's a completely avoidable situation. And Connor made a choice to trap himself. He doesn't see it as a trap. He sees it as just him being in a relationship with Mackenzie. And we've already addressed that they're a match considering their maturity level, their insecurity, and just the way they think of things. So I have no sympathy for Connor whatsoever. Whatever he does, fine. Whatever he doesn't do, fine. When he becomes more interesting, or when his situation on Love Island becomes interesting again, that's when we'll cover it again on this podcast. But as far as all of this confusion about how he is done with Mackenzie, and then we see clips of him and her cuddling and kissing in bed, we're done with that. It's a mess. It's a mess. Surprisingly, during the slip and slide challenge, Justine picked Caleb for the performance and the kiss during the car wash. And everybody, all of the Islanders were surprised. Rachel was mad as all get up, like she's going to do something about it. And Caleb, he was just like laughing and going with it, but also kind of awkward, like, yikes, I didn't see this coming. And Trey, of course, was humiliated because all the guys were hyping him up thinking Justine was going to pick him. Then she didn't. Then she kissed Caleb, and no one picked Trey for a kiss. So he was left out of the challenge. So that embarrassment contributes to Trey's hurt.
My decision on that was based on the conversation we had yesterday and because of it. And I felt like if I had picked you, I feel like with everything that I had said yesterday and then did that today, I feel like it would have just confused you further.
You kissed another person because you didn't want to confuse me?
I literally told you yesterday, I feel that it's right if you pursue other people, and I know that we're still going at a slow pace, and then I kiss you in a challenge. That's literally backtracking on everything I said yesterday. That would literally be backtracking on everything I said yesterday.
It's cool. Like, it's just so hypocritical for you to sit there and say, oh, I missed you and all that stuff, and then for you to just go and basically just put a knife in my back and then choose him is just, it's ridiculous. And like,
why is it ridiculous though when we're both open in here?
That's fine. I just didn't see it coming. I felt like it was a complete blindside because you never expressed any interest in him.
I literally told you that there was something there, but I
okay,
think
all right, it's
no,
it's
like
fine.
don't cut me
fine.
off. Let me finish. If you want to have the conversation,
no, we don't have to have any conversation. Okay,
you're not going to say your piece and not let me say mine.
It's nothing else to talk about, Justine.
Trey was absolutely confused on his situation with Justine, and I feel his own embarrassment got in his way and warped his perception of what their relationship was. I don't think he ever told the guys that him and Justine ended things. If he did, I think he forgot. Because he was obviously very embarrassed when Justine kissed Caleb during the challenge, and he felt the need to try to break up with Justine after that. But the truth is, Justine broke up with him in the previous day. So I understand that he felt like Justine was giving him some sort of mixed signals because, you know, they were cuddling a little bit like in their bedroom. But she had already made it clear to him, you know, our relationship is open. We're just friends. We're moving very slowly. You should pursue other people, and I want to pursue other people. So once again, Trey is just on the losing end of this. But he also seems to be a roach in the villa. Like we keep saying on this podcast that if there's no one there for you on Love Island, you just get bumped up out of there. But there has not been anybody there for Trey since the beginning, and he's still there. And I believe that a part of Trey's hurt came from the fact that he always thought he could do better than Justine. And he was offended that she had enough self-worth and thought of herself enough to find someone else and pursue someone outside of him. As Justine stands, we always knew that Trey was always the placeholder for Justine and that she was going to upgrade. Caleb is the upgrade. It doesn't end with Caleb. He is a placeholder, a better placeholder, but a placeholder nonetheless. And Justine is going to get her third and final man, her upgrade, actually her fourth and final man, because she already had Jeremiah. So when she goes to Casa Amor, she's going to get her final guy, and she's going to take him to the finale with her and get the bag.
Do you feel like you're like warming up to everybody?
It's crazy. I'm starting to see just how quick everything moves in here. You know, I 100% am open-minded, and I'm going to be like a book out here, and I'm going to talk to anybody who wants to talk. I want to find somebody that can understand that this takes time.
It does take time.
And it's really challenging for people. Like, some people can say, yeah, I don't care, you know what I'm saying, go talk to whoever.
Yeah.
And like, but now I do feel like I'm kind of at a place where like I've narrowed down my options.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm really like, you're one of the people I really need to give myself a chance with.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm putting that out there right now.
Aw. I'm so flattered. Thank you so much.
And you know what? Justine moving to Caleb is not something that's out of the blue. We saw a couple of episodes ago that Justine and Caleb were having a conversation, and Caleb was telling her that he was interested in getting to know her more and that he was open to exploring a relationship with her. So all Justine is doing is taking up his offer on that. Now, let's move on to Rachel. I know Love Island likes to edit the Islanders so that they come off as negative sometimes, just to give us like some character development or an idea of personalities of what's going on. Before this episode, we hardly saw anything about Rachel. We hardly saw her speak to the girls. We saw maybe 2 conversations between her and Jeremiah. Other than that, Rachel was mostly just someone we saw in the villa. In this episode, she was doing a lot of talking, and I believe a lot of the things she was saying was making her on-screen character look very negative and condescending. I don't think Rachel is a bad person by any means, but in this episode, she was coming across as somebody that was hard to root for. I didn't really like her energy on screen, and I really didn't, besides her giving advice to Mackenzie, I really didn't like a lot of the things she said in this episode. It really came across as very condescending. So I understand Rachel felt a bit betrayed by Justine, especially since her and Justine had time to develop a relationship since Rachel joined the villa. When Rachel, I guess, stole Jeremiah from Justine, they hadn't developed any sort of friendship yet. But when Justine kissed Caleb, the guy Rachel was coupled with, you know, they had already started forming a bond. So I understand if she does feel like some level of betrayal, but I just felt like the depth she was expressing this emotion was completely unnecessary. Because first of all, you two have only been quote unquote friends for a couple of days. Second of all, she wasn't checking for Caleb like that. Because on her date with Caleb, she was putting him in the friend zone for Jeremiah. She was only with Caleb because Jeremiah dumped her. Third of all,
like the extent of like some of our encounters have been like maybe a conversation or two.
But we don't hang out all the time.
Like, we don't really hang out. But at a certain point, like if we are going to nurture this, then like we're gonna have to start hanging out.
I just feel like, out of respect for the fact that you're pursuing Justine.
Pursuing is a verb.
Okay. But that's what's going on with me right now, is I'm figuring out how to let this happen.
Why are you going off about how Justine betrayed you, like on this girl code tangent, when the guy you're coupled up with, you're not even taking the time to get to know? You know, you're not trying to like spend time with him or hook up with him or hang out with him or anything in the villa. But as soon as Justine makes a move toward him, you're so offended. Like, what is this high and mighty position you're holding? And I think it really came across as very confusing to Rachel. I mean, in the confession, not to Rachel, it came across as very confusing to Justine. And the whole conversation about Rachel saying to Justine's face, this is how much gall the girl had. She says,
with sharing another guy with you. I really value our friendship, but it's one of those things of like, I might need to take a step in.
Girl, what? You're on TV on a reality dating show. Like, you say it's not Friend Island, it's Love Island. Okay, then why are you breaking up with your friend? It's not that deep. You know, you're not even dating the guy. Really, you know, you're just trying to get to know him, and you're not even doing that. And you said that by your own admission. So I really felt like Rachel needed to take a chill pill. And that she didn't really have a foot to stand on, you know, going at Justine like that. So that whole thing just came across as immature to me, and it just made me remember that Rachel's only 21 years old. Meanwhile, Justine is 27 years old, and I think Justine's age and maturity allows her to act differently, kind of like it's something that sets Lauren apart from a lot of the other Islanders. Like when she was reacting to the way Mackenzie was crying about Connor going on the date, I think she was just behaving that way because she's 29 years old and she just felt like the whole situation was way too immature. And we're going to get a little more into Lauren later, but with Justine being 27, I just think she showed her maturity in the way she handled the conversation with Rachel, just hearing her out. And then the whole situation with Trey and it being an open relationship, I think she had the right perspective on that too, because it was never that serious. And I don't think she ever proclaimed for it to be that serious. So I think it's really important for the Islanders to maintain perspective when they're going through things in the villa. But anyway, we're Team Justine. We knew Caleb was going to pick Justine from the very beginning because she put a spell on him when she was doing that slip and slide challenge, when she did that split, when she shook it, dropped it, when she gave him that kiss. She put a spell on him. Caleb was under her influence. Period. I was not surprised that Lauren won the slip and slide challenge. I thought Kirsten's was pretty nice, but all of the guys are drooling over Lauren right now, and they've been talking about how she has a really nice body. So I think with her being the new girl and being a really good looking girl too, it's pretty obvious why she won. And I was surprised to hear that Carrington thought Kirsten's performance was hot, and I'm glad that she really laid it on him with the kiss. He said that she usually doesn't kiss him like that, so she really was showing him, hey man, boy, I want you, which is good on her. Girl, get your man, lock him down. But it was very interesting to hear Carrington say that Lauren's kiss was outright better. And once again, I think it's because Lauren's 29. She's got experience on her shoulders. So, final impressions of Lauren. Yeah, so we already know that during the date between Lauren and Carrington, Lauren was putting the Mac on Carrington and it was working. So I think that left an impression on him, a good one. And I think he wants to pursue Lauren a bit more. And Kirsten is not feeling that, of course. So she's put more pressure on Carrington, saying, hey, you can get to know her, but I don't want to see you being very touchy-feely with her. And I think that pressure made Carrington feel like he had to be more loyal to Kirsten and respect the connection they've already made together. But I also feel that pressure has also pushed him away from Kirsten just a little bit because he's curious about what things could be with Lauren. And he's already voiced that confidence is something that attracts him. And the pressure Kirsten is putting on Carrington right now isn't a display of confidence. It's a display of insecurity. So we're still rooting for Carrington and Kirsten on this podcast. Hopefully they stay together. So one thing that Lauren did during the episode when she was grafting the guys and, trying to give everybody a feel of her personality was that she was talking about Kenzie's apology to the boys. And I know she's a woman who is not very faithful to girl code, especially on Love Island, but I just thought that gossip was inappropriate because all Kenzie did was apologize. I think she felt self-conscious about the way she may have come off to Lauren, and maybe even her behavior made Lauren feel uncomfortable or unwelcome. And I think she just wanted Lauren to know that that wasn't her intention. But I think Lauren just really thinks little of Mackenzie, or I don't know. The way she talked about her apology to the guys just kind of came across to me as belittling. Like she thinks that Mackenzie's just so immature and like everything she does is ridiculous. And I understand Mackenzie is an emotional person and it may be difficult for certain personalities to take her seriously. But I do think her apology was genuine, especially because since she's displayed that she's insecure, she at least cares deeply about how other people perceive her, what other people think of her. So I do think her apology was genuine. And I thought that was a bit low of Lauren to make fun of her to the guys. Maybe she was trying to uplift her own position, but it just came across as so unnecessary. So the other two couples we have left that we haven't talked about are Sully and Jonny and Moira and Calvin. So let's talk about Sully and Jonny first because Jonny had a date with Lauren. That date I thought was kind of interesting. It was a bit cut short, so that kind of tells us that there wasn't anything interesting going on in the date. I definitely think Jonny was giving Lauren a lot of googly eyes, and I think if Lauren had pursued him a little bit harder, then maybe he would have given her a little bit more. I definitely think the guys needed more prodding because once again, there are more older women on the cast than older men. And that maturity really goes a long way in situations like this on the show with dating and pursuing people. So I really think maybe if Jonny were like 27 or something, maybe he would have had a couple more moves or, different ideas about pursuing Lauren on his own. But I definitely think all of the guys, being as young as they are, needed Lauren to grab their wrist and yank them from their coupling. But Jonny was definitely giving some flirty eyes to Lauren in each of the conversations we saw him have with her in this episode and in the previous episode when she first arrived. And she commented on it during the date, and rightfully so. She was not making that up. But then later in the episode, we see Jonny basically reassure Sally that he's secure with her and, he's not looking for, someone who's just pretty to look at. He wants someone he has a deep mental, emotional, and spiritual connection with, and that's Sally. That's what they're building. So that's awesome for them. Like, you already know that I want to see some cracks in their relationship, or I just want to see them overcome an obstacle just so that they can have some character development. That would be interesting. At one point in the episode, I thought Jonny was a little bit sneaky because it seemed like he wouldn't tell Sally about his thoughts on Lauren, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't have to tell Sally that he thinks like Lauren is like super beautiful or anything like that because he's already reassured her. So that doesn't matter. One thing I did notice is that when all the guys were talking in the guys' dressing room, Caleb was deliberating his decision between Justine and Rachel, and he cut Jonny off while Jonny was talking, and it didn't seem like Jonny liked that. I think Jonny kind of sees himself as the leader of the guy group. So we'll see how the relationship between Caleb and Jonny evolves. Hopefully I'm not reaching by making that comment, but I thought that was an interesting thing they included in the episode. I think they like to put little seeds in there just to start some rising action for later on. So once again, we'll see how that develops. As far as Sally, that's still my girl. She is still a bright and shining star. She was so relaxed during Jonny's date, was not pacing. She was eating snacks, not out of stress, but out of pure enjoyment. So Sally is a whole vibe. We love her confidence, her happiness, and I just like that she said in the confessional she respects Jonny enough to allow him to comfortably date and get to know other people while they're on Love Island because that's what they're there for. And I just think her confidence is what's drawing him in to her even more. So way to go, Sally. Jelly is stronger than ever. So last we have Moira and Calvin. We didn't even see a lot of moments of Moira talking. She didn't participate in the challenge because she hurt her knee, and during that part of the episode, she was still on crutches. Later in the episode, she didn't have her crutches, so that's a good sign that she's getting better. She did have a small conversation with Calvin, but to be honest with you, I wasn't really listening that much. That seemed like a lull for me during the episode. And one hot little moment Moira had was she said scapulation instead of speculation, which was kind of cute. So they're still trying to convey her personality through the episodes. But that's pretty much it. Her and Calvin seem to still be getting to know each other. I also noticed during the episode she mentioned she had an 8-year relationship. So that kind of gives some context to the breakup she was talking about during her intro video. And that also kind of explains why she was behaving the way she was toward James. She seemed to come across as passive aggressive, but I think maybe based off of her previous relationship experience, she just felt like she didn't have to say something to everything. I'm not really sure, but that's something new we learned about Moira, and it seems like her and Calvin are just getting to know each other. Now it's that time in the episode for our tweets. @SwagMillie says, Justine picking Caleb for the challenge, and the meme of, I'm going to create an environment that is so toxic. Yeah, Justine really stirred stuff up. And did you hear Matthew Hoffman, the narrator, comment when Justine approached Caleb for the conversation about her interest in wanting to get to know him more, that she was trying to get more attention or spots on the show, like more screen time. I did not like that joke at all. That is not what our girl Justine is doing. She's not fighting to stay relevant. She's the star of the show. She is the relevancy. Now that Trey is away from her, he has lost relevancy. She is giving Caleb relevancy. She's bringing people up because her shine is so powerful. Period. Another person says, did you let Justine know when you chose Jeremiah? Okay, that was a comment at Rachel. Yeah, a lot of people thought Rachel was being a little bit ridiculous about the taking a step back from her friendship with Justine. Someone else says, Connor, Mackenzie is going at a pace too fast for me. Connor last night. Mackenzie, do you want to be my girlfriend? And there's a picture of a cartoon saying you dropped this and pointing to a clown mask. Yeah, so Connor was being incredibly confusing. He was saying one thing to other people, and then as soon as he got around Mackenzie, he's like, I love you. So that was really strange. At Lakers Tracker says, me trying to figure out Connor's true feelings, and there's a mind map picture. Yeah, that was incredibly confusing. Once again, he was just flip-flopping all around, and I still think he's just still in a place where he's trying to make everybody happy. He wants Mackenzie to be happy with him, but he also wants to do what he wants. So, yeah, I don't care about what Connor's doing anymore, actually. And if Mackenzie cries again, I may not even cover it on the show because, like, it just feels like such old news. So, at Tiggy Smalls says, Justine is right. Miss Stiffwig is only mad because she's on the receiving end. Okay. The Stiffwig comment is a bit mean. But I will agree that Rachel was just upset because it was happening to her, but she had no problem doing it to Justine. Someone else says, at Bruv Island says, not Connor speaking from his soul through the Love Island iPhone Notes app. And there's a picture of a laughing face. Yeah, Connor needed a lot of help. But once again, we have no sympathy for Connor on this podcast. He made his house. He's living in it. So those are our tweets this time. Thank you to everybody who tweeted. Vote Justine. Always vote for Justine. Okay, now we have some new couples since the most recent recoupling. So we have a new couple power ranking. At the top, still reigning champions, Jonny and Sally, aka Jelly. Second, as our beta couple, I have Carrington and Kirsten. Although Carrington seems to be turning his head toward Lauren, those two are still in an open romantic relationship and they have an open line of communication with each other. So I think there's a possibility they're going to amend their issues and they already have an established relationship. Calvin and Moira have taken my third spot because they've been together longer than Caleb and Justine, and they haven't gotten much screen time. So I'm just going to play on the safe side and think they're building their relationship without us seeing it. Caleb and Justine are in the fourth spot because they just got together in this recoupling. No surprise to us Justine stands because we know our girl has that power. She has that power, that influence. Then I have Connor and Mackenzie close to the bottom because Connor is just all over the place. He's lying to Mackenzie. He makes it official with her after telling Lauren on their date that he feels like the date is a breath of fresh air and he wants to get to know Lauren more and she's everything he's looking for. So I think Connor and Mackenzie are actually broken up. It's just Connor hasn't told Mackenzie yet. And then at the bottom of the list, we have Trey and Lauren because technically these two are still single. Lauren hasn't really expressed any romantic interest in Trey. I think she's just open to getting to know him. And Trey is just trying to stay in the villa, making connections, playing the game. He's a good competitor. Got to give him that. So our diversity percentage at the end of this episode is 50%. 6 out of the 12 islanders are people of color. I just want to bring up a point of notice. Notice the difference between Treys' recoupling speech with Justine and Treys' recoupling speech with Lauren. The first snippet is with Justine. The second is with Lauren. Oh, wait.
I want to couple up with this girl because she's beautiful. The conversations that we did have, each time I left with something. So, the girl I want to couple up with is... I would like to couple up with this girl because not only is she drop dead gorgeous, she's unique, she's confident, and it's not a secret. Wherever she goes, her presence is very much felt by everyone in the room. I look forward to getting to know you even more because I feel like the potential just skyrockets, and that itself excites me. So the girl I would like to couple up with is...
Trey has known Lauren for a significantly less amount of time than he has known Justine, yet he has given her so many more compliments in his recoupling speech, and I think that speaks volumes to his attraction to her and how he feels about her versus Justine. I also just want to say that I think Trey was in part trying to say goodbye to Justine, and he was sadly disappointed. Once again, our queen is staying. She is here to stay. She is thriving and she is winning. Stan Justine. Thank you to everyone who participated in the group chat. It was a lot of fun watching the episode with you all. Keep up with us at Lonely Loquate on Instagram and Twitter. DM us if you'd like to be featured on the show. We love responding to listeners' comments. We'll be back tomorrow night with more fresh Love Island content.